What is up, guys? It's Twin Soul Poets.
Poets.
We are your go-to couple for love and relationship advice.
Dope spoken word poetry.
And
uplifting content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it. Content. Get up in this content. Content.
Twerk yourself off the couch.
Yeah. In this video, we're giving you 7 things to do to prepare yourself for love. We challenge your attention span to listen to all 7 of these tips. Type "got it" in the comments if you've made it through all 7 and let us know what you thought.
If you are new to our channel, definitely like and subscribe. Check out our website, twinsoulpoets.com, where you can book private love coaching sessions with us. And also make sure you check out our last video. We feel like it's one of the best ones we've ever made. It's a special date to our favorite spot, this romantic park in Richmond, Virginia.
We had so much fun making it. Definitely check it out. I think you guys will like it a lot.
Here are 7 things to do to prepare yourself for love.
The first thing you can do to prepare yourself for love is to spend time with people who are in relationships, like us, like watching these videos, like spending time with us, like learning about love by just even seeing our dynamic, like in the video we mentioned. It inspires you to create the kind of love that you want. For some reason, a lot of people who are single tend to avoid people in relationships, and there's almost sometimes this resentment or this annoyance, like people who have Valentine's Day and they have this feeling of like, oh, Valentine's Day, all these annoying, cute couples. But honestly, what you're doing is if you follow the law of attraction, you're actually pushing away the very thing that you say you want by saying no to that thing. Oh, that thing that I don't have, or being frustrated about it. But if you embrace it and say, oh, I just love being around these couples, look what's possible for me, it really encourages it to come into your life.
You can also ask couples questions about like things they've learned from relationships. This is something I especially love doing with older couples who have been married for like 50 plus years, 40 plus years, and just asking them like, if you could give, 2 solid tips of advice for making something work long term. I love hearing people's answers on that because obviously they're doing something right if they've stayed together that long, and especially couples that just like still have this like flirtatious or like fun, lovey energy around each other. Learning what works for them is really valuable.
What better way to start a new relationship than with a whole bunch of gems that you've got from people who've been doing it for a while. Change your perspective on it. It's just a switch of perspective. Start to celebrate other couples instead of feeling upset or sad or anxious about it.
When you're around that, noticing and taking notes, you always say like, wow, look how close I am to the vibration of love as they're sitting right next to me, even if it's like 2 strangers at the park or something.
Yeah, and if you did anything from this list and just did this first step, you would be well on your way to opening yourself up energetically, but also just learning a lot about love and relationships in general. The next thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to get to know yourself sexually. So many people come into new relationships with all of this baggage and expectations, whether it be from self-worth issues, porn, past relationships. All of these things can accumulate and create problems in the new relationship. So if you do yourself a favor and really get to know yourself authentically, spend time to strip away all of this social conditioning, the more deeply you're able to connect to your own body, the more deeply someone else will be able to connect to your body. It's not fair to expect someone else to be able to turn you on if you can't turn yourself on. There are so many ways to empower yourself through education.
The pathway to empowerment might look different for men and women. Not always, but in general, there might be different challenges that you need to navigate. For many men like myself, I realized so much of my ego and sense of self-worth was being tied into sex. Like this constant feeling like I needed to perform well and I needed to show my self-worth by how much I can please my woman, how much pleasure I can give to my woman. And that like cut me off from real authentic connection and bonding. Another thing that I noticed was like the tendency to get lost in fantasy. A lot of that conditioning coming from porn and like overstimulation of sexual imagery, and then it's like the ways that gets tied to your excitement and habits of like what you think excites you. Practicing just giving yourself pleasure without pornography maybe, or without having to escape in fantasy and sexual imagery, and just being present with the sensations within your body can be really powerful for men in particular, I think.
For women, I suggest exploring a process called de-armoring, which is where you start to undo all of the emotional things that we as women tend to hold in our wombs and in our reproductive organs. And it's a way of clearing that out to make space for love, to make space for pleasure, to make space for joy. Because if all of those things are in the way, it's very hard to receive love from a new partner. Some great resources to get you started are any books or materials, videos by David Data. We're a big fan of his. He was one of our first kind of introductions into more like conscious sex, conscious sexuality, divine masculine and feminine principles, like really powerful stuff. He's one of the like trusted sources on this topic.
We actually met in a course that was like utilizing a lot of his stuff.
Another resource is a book called Cupid's Poison Arrow, which talks about charisma, which we feel like is like a really revolutionary take on sex and sexuality. It kind of turns it all on its head. Really powerful. And then also there's a show on Netflix called Sex, Love, and Goop, which Gwyneth Paltrow has her Goop line. But she also has her whole like it's all about different spiritual philosophies and ways of being, and this one is about sex and sexuality, and she has practitioners on that are working with couples and teaching them how to open up to themselves sexually. Like it's just a really, really good series, and we got a lot out of it. So those are 3 things that you can look into now to start getting yourself ready for that juicy relationship that's on the way.
The third thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to think about all the things that you have to give in relationship, all the things that you would feel great giving and doing for your partner of the future. A lot of times when people are thinking about manifesting love in relationships, they're thinking about all the things that they want to get from the other person, that they want to receive in relationship. And that's great. It's that's an important part. It is give and take, but it is like a proven scientific fact that when researchers are studying what makes humans happy, giving and simple acts of service and love to others is actually like the most powerful happiness drug known to man right now. Like there's something that is hardwired in us to be of service and to give to other people, and that is what makes us feel the best. So starting the habit of thinking about relationships from that perspective is a really powerful way to prepare.
Try writing a list of 10 ways you make other people feel good. Maybe you're really good at a massage, like me. I feel I'm pretty good. Or you can cook a really good meal. Or maybe you're a great motivational speaker. Maybe you're that person your friends always turn to when they need advice. Think of those things, and that will prepare you to know what you're bringing to the table in relationship. And like Hamilton said, it's awesome to have your list of things that you want in a partner, but they want that list from you too. They're coming in thinking, what are they gonna give to me? Having that balance will create the foundation for a really successful relationship. The next thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to look for areas in your life where you can exemplify what you're wanting from a partner. What does this mean? This means that, say you are wanting a partner who's wealthy. That's an opportunity to look at your life and ask yourself, how am I contributing to my financial health and well-being? Have there been investments you've been wanting to make? Have you been wanting to learn more about retirement plans or 401k? Or perhaps you really want someone who's physically fit. Have you fallen off from your time at the gym? Do you want someone who's spiritual? Do you meditate daily? How do you invest in your spiritual self? You get the idea. So the more that you can do that, that's the integrity of living what you want to see in another. And this is really going to serve you when you get into the relationship, because one habit can tend to be projecting, right? So we'll say, you're not doing this thing, or you need to be doing more of that, when often it's something we need to be living in ourselves. If you're already in the habit of doing it before you're even in a relationship, you are so far ahead of the curve.
It's basically like learning to be the person that you want to be with. And it is powerful for when you actually do begin the relationship, because manifesting love does not end when you start a relationship.
Hello.
Like, you have to then make that relationship work. And if you've developed this habit of like trying to get from others what you feel like you can't give to yourself, then you're going to create a lot of like neediness, a lot of projecting, like Ingrid said. But if instead you're building that habit of like, when I am feeling like I'm needing something, how can I become and embody that thing first? That is so empowering, and it's going to serve you so much in a relationship, because anytime that you're feeling like you're needing something more from your partner, you have that reflex of looking within first and being like, well, what am I offering that thing that I'm expecting them to offer? And if you're not, is it really fair to expect that from them.
Right. And I think it's important to also say as an addendum, like, this is not about being perfect, but it is about being willing to look at yourself. It's about being willing to say, oh, well, this is an area where I can improve. This is an area where I can grow. This is an area where I can humble myself a little bit or learn from someone else. It's always going to be an ongoing process. So we're not saying become perfect and then you can have your partner. That is not the advice here, but just having that willingness to take a look at where you could, become that more so is really powerful.
It's about coming to a relationship as a whole and complete being rather than coming into it feeling like, oh, I need you to complete me. I need you to give me all the things that I can't do, because that can kind of create codependency. Whereas, being a full and complete grounded person within yourself, you have so much more to offer to a relationship.
And this is a really great opportunity to actually share something that I did from one of our other steps, which is to spend time around people who are in relationships. I remember coming to a woman who was a bit older than, much older than I was, probably in her late 60s, early 70s even, and saying that, like, yeah, I really want to take the time to become whole before I go into a relationship to, exemplify what I want. And she responded in a way that I thought was really wise. She said, yes, to a degree, but some of that happens within the relationship. So while we're saying this, again, I just want to stress that, like, yes, do that as much as you can, but know that some of that is going to be inspired by your partner, and that's okay too. But what we're encouraging you to do is just to take those little steps, just to pick one area in your life where you can do that. And plus, like, say you go to the gym more because you want someone who's fit, you might run into somebody that could be a potential date for you. You never know. But putting yourself out into these situations will only enhance your chances of, the thing.
The next thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to learn to enjoy your own company. This means taking yourself out on dates. Whatever thing that you imagine just enjoying doing so much with your partner when you guys are dating, really romantic, fun dates that you want to go do those things with yourself now and really enjoy it to the max. And this is another way of, like, figuring out, what do you like? What do you like to do? What things in life really fill you up, light you up, turn you on? And those are things that, as you get into the vibration of doing it yourself, then you're really ready to share it with others.
And you're cooking with gas.
Yep, you're fueled up at that point. And, another really practical aspect of this is that when you're out there in the world doing the things that you really love and that you're passionate about and light you up, you're in the environments where you're that much more likely to meet someone who also loves doing the things that you love and that light you up and that enjoy. Like, you're putting yourself in a great space to meet that kind of person.
Enjoying your own company is about embracing aloneness and not being afraid of being alone. Hamilton and I actually experienced this before we met each other on our first date. We both shared with each other how we had both gotten really comfortable with being alone. It's a sacred time. It's such a great time to get to know yourself. And the irony is, the energy of being very comfortable, very secure in your aloneness is very attractive. It feels like, it doesn't have this needy energy. Think about neediness is like a repelling energy, and secure in your aloneness is like a magnetic energy. So the more that you can really feel comfortable being with yourself, the better. There's a quote in the movie The Secret. The guy says, like, how can you expect others to enjoy your company if you don't enjoy your own company? And it's such a simple concept, but it's, like, really powerful if you think about it. So prioritize giving some alone time to yourself, challenge yourself to say no, don't go out this time. Like, say, I'm going to stay in tonight. I'm going to take some time to myself. That's easier for some than others. We're both Cancer, so honestly, it's kind of written into our coding. But for some people who are very, outgoing people by nature, really, thrive off of the energy of others, it can be challenging. But there's a lot to learn from taking that time. And it doesn't mean that you can't go and be social. But, even if it's an hour, take that time to yourself and really sit with it. See what comes up. If any emotions come up, question as to why. Look where they're coming from. Look what's underneath that, because there's something there for you that's only going to serve you as you move into a relationship with another person.
There's all kinds of ways to, like, really sink into enjoying alone time. The next thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to educate yourself. Read books not only on manifestation of love, but also on how to nurture and nourish and continue a healthy relationship once it's started. Because, like I said before, This journey does not end once you've like attracted your dream partner and you guys start dating. That's just the beginning, right? It's not like a mountaintop that you've reached and everything's good now. There's going to be a whole lot of learning and growth and evolution and transformation that begins from that point on. So starting to learn how to navigate that now is really, really good idea. And the things that you learn about how to nurture a relationship, it doesn't just apply to intimate relationships. Those are effective, powerful communication tools and like self-love tools that you can apply in all areas of life and all relationships, friendships, family, everything.
Yeah. For example, there's a process we just learned that has like transformed the way that we communicate and engage with each other, especially when we're going through a challenging time or a disagreement. And like, I wish that I had known this, 8-9 years ago when we first met. I mean, we've figured it out through, our own journey, which I don't regret. But it's like, I can imagine having come in with this kind of wisdom and this kind of knowledge. So you can do that now. You can find a modality that works for you. There are so many out there now. It's just so easy to jump on YouTube or go on, a streaming service like Gaia, which has tons of, really interesting conscious talks or whatever, floats your boat, and just start educating yourself now. You will feel so empowered and so good coming into a relationship, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to express your needs, knowing how to share emotion in a healthy way instead of a toxic way. Like, there's so many things you can do now that you'll feel like, okay, I'm really excited and empowered to get into this love thing with somebody else.
Yeah.
You will thank us for it. You'll come back to this video and say, thank you, Twin Soul Poets, because this has been so helpful for all the stuff that I'm doing. Why am I having such a hard time closing out my statements? The 7th thing to do to prepare yourself for love is to make space for it. Make space for love. This means physically, literally making space, and mentally and emotionally and spiritually making space. So we've talked about before, like, for example, the art of feng shui, making space in your actual home, clearing clutter. Anytime there's a vacuum, the universe loves to fill it. So if you have a cluttered life, a cluttered mind, then there's not a lot of space for something new to come in. So just clean up, do some spring cleaning, get rid of things you no longer need. But that also pertains to, clearing out old ties with people, getting rid of ways of thinking and beliefs that aren't going to serve manifesting and creating the kind of love that you want.
I like the thing too about making sure that there's space in the bedroom for like 2 people to get into bed on both sides.
I like that too.
That's like a simple, practical way of thinking about this. Like, are you literally preparing your space for another person to be there? Like, do you have only one chair at your like dining room table?
Right. 2
Set
table
out 2,
settings.
you know what I mean?
Go
like,
buy a toothbrush. Do you want them to come stay the night with you sometimes? Like, thinking ahead like that, in terms of like law of attraction, is really great. But also, it'll just free you up. You'll feel like, oh wow, I'm really making room for someone new to come into my life.
On the energetic side of things, maybe considering letting go of any kind of old lingering like friends with benefits type relationships or dynamics, clearing that space. If you know this friends with benefits thing is not something you want to continue long term, like, it's also a very loving thing to free the other person from that. Like, nobody wants to feel like they're a placeholder for, finding the person that you really want to be with. It's kind of a loving gesture to lovingly let that go, let that person be free, and also like loving yourself enough to not like settle, right?
And I will make an addendum to this. This is for people who are ready and want love in their life. There's nothing wrong if you and another person have an agreement that you want to just have a sexual relationship or, just a friends with benefits type of relationship, and you're both clear on that dynamic, and neither one of you is really actually wanting to be more than that. It's tough to do, but I'm not saying it can't happen. If you're able to do that, then by all means, if that's what you're here for. But if you're here for like a very real, genuine connection, and you're just holding on to someone because you're afraid that if you don't, then you won't have anybody, go back to our other step about aloneness and challenge yourself to really discover what that's about, so you can make space for something awesome. Right, baby?
Yes. It's about getting clear on what you really want and then realizing and seeing with clarity what's not in alignment with that. Congratulations if you accepted the challenge and made it through all 7 things to do to prepare for love.
All right.
Make sure you comment below, got it, if you've made it here. Let us know which one of the things to do is most helpful to you.
Tap the link below, twinsoulpoets.com, to book a private love coaching session with us. Any one of these topics could be a whole session. We have a great time with our clients, and we would love to work with you. And we will see you all in the next video.
Hey, Twin Soul Poets.
Twin Soul Poets. Twin Soul Poets.